I wanted to feel witchy today. I feel like I've accomplished that, even though I am wearing bright yellow, kind of. I'm so excited. This is my first wrap up for 2022. It's January. We had a great month. I read a bunch and I feel like I look really good today. So it's overall a great feeling. 2022 is our year. We are claiming it. We're gonna do the most and have the best fun. I came into 2022 with new goals in mind, and so far they're super working and I'm super loving them. And I managed to read a grand total of 8 books, I think. Yeah, there are 8 books in this stack. Let's take a thumbnail. So I have 8 books. My theme for my bullet journal, which is this one right here, is blue, and I will show you my general spreads for January. I won't show you my full spreads because there's other stuff from February in there already, and I'm not showing it to you. So these were my colors on my TBR shelf and my completed works. I pretty much read all 4 stars this month, but I am happy to report there was only 4 days that I didn't read like more than 50 pages, because I feel like reporting under 50 pages is just not worth it. And I ended up reading 3,830 pages according to my page tracker, which is a lot. And these are all my little reviews that I have in there. Very fun, very cool, very nice. And in this collection, I think I only had 2 books that actually go towards my reading goal for the year, which is to read 50 books over 500 pages, which is really sad that out of this 8 there's only 2 on here that actually qualify. There are 2 that are super close on top of that are literally like less than 10 pages away from being 500 pages, and that irritated me so bad, but I'll talk about that as we go through them. The first book that I completed was A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire by Jennifer L. Ermintrout. This is the second book after From Blood and Ash, and it kind of has second book syndrome, especially like in a trilogy where the second book is just kind of like eh, but also amazing. I gave it 5 stars. This was a lot of talking and learning, and they stayed in one place for most of this and then traveled for like the other little bit of it. And I have a vlog that I've already uploaded of me reading this book and having my crisis of the plot twist slash cliffhanger ending. Oof, it's a whole thing. But this one definitely reached over my 500 page mark. It was like over 600 pages actually, so this one qualified to my reading goal this year, and I loved it. It was amazing. I love Poppy. I love Hawk slash Castile. I don't want to tell you a whole lot because it is the second book, but it definitely has like that second book syndrome. But I like the characters enough and like the world building enough that I really enjoyed everything that happened in here. I also loved that the 2 main characters decided to communicate and talk to each other about what they actually wanted, and the death of the miscommunication trope was clear in here, which I very much appreciated, like so much. Please talk to each other, please figure out stuff. They would get interrupted in a conversation and they would come back to it later and finish the conversation. Wonderful. I love that about this, and that's also why I gave 5 stars, because I was like, hell yeah, let's communicate. Woo! Like normal fucking people, like, talk to each other. The next book that I read is Hunting by Stars by Sherry Dimmeline. This is the sequel to The Marrow Thieves, which blew my mind last year. This one I ended up giving 4 stars. I didn't think there was going to be a sequel to it. I thought The Marrow Thieves ended really beautifully and amazing, but this was super fun. There was a whole lot of escaping Canada and escaping the apocalyptic events in there, because in this universe the only people who can dream are the indigenous community. Everybody else can't dream anymore, so they're harvesting dreams from the bone marrow of indigenous people by putting them back into residential schools and brainwashing them to kidnapping their own kind. And Frenchie gets kidnapped in here and brainwashed to kidnap his own kind, while his family decides to try to run away to America. And it's a whole thing, because in America it's illegal to harvest their bone marrow, whereas Canada it's not. and when they get to America, shit just goes down, and this whole book was just really fun adventure. But definitely read The Marrow Thieves. I highly recommend that one still to this day. The next book I read is The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. This one I had a struggle with. I will say that there was a struggle with this book. I'm not afraid to admit that most of the book I hated Rin. There were issues in here after like before 200, like the first 200 and I think it was like 19 pages or something. I loved this book. Rin was a girl who had ambition and she would do anything in her power to get what she wanted. She wanted to go to school at Seingard because it was free, and she could see herself having a military future if she went there. So she took this test, got her dreams, and went to Seingard. She got there, punched a dude in the face for making fun of her teacher, and just overall, like, she doesn't give a fuck because she's gonna get what she wants regardless. The lore teacher, I think, was my favorite character in this one. I do not remember his name off the top of my head right now because I've blocked out some of the story, I feel like, already. Rin, her ambition is like her character driving thing, but it is also like her character flaw that makes her the villain, and that's what really irritated me because we hit the war and then she went off in this direction when originally she was going in this direction, and I really struggled with kind of that, and it was my own thing. I really did enjoy the story and I like where it's going and I will continue on with it, but I really struggled with the plot twist in this one because it felt like the plot twist was fake to me. And then on top of that, when Rin does what she sets out to do, she becomes upset afterwards and literally cries over the thing that she did. She's like, I can't believe I did that. Even though so many people warned her and told her, like, this is what you're doing. Like, are you aware of this? And she was just upset. I'm like, if you're gonna be the villain, be the villain. If you're gonna do all these terrible things, do it with confidence. Don't cry afterwards. And that's why I was like, okay, we're knocking off a star off of this one. But I will continue, and I think a lot more people really like this one than I did, which is funny because I feel like it gets recommended to me or it's right up my alley, and then I was reading it and I was like, oh. So there was a bit of a struggle there. The next book I read was Fragile Things by Neil Gaiman. This was a short story collection. I think the last short story collection that I currently own. I think this is the last Neil Gaiman book that I own that I hadn't read yet. And now I finally read it. It is like a beautiful color, but like the camera is not going to show it. In real life, this book is gorgeous. I actually put little sticky notes on the stories that I like the best, and I ended up giving this 4 stars because there were some that I really liked, there were some that I didn't. First one, I'll tell you which short stories I liked. I liked October in the Chair. I liked The Facts in the Case of the Departure of Miss Finch. That was probably my favorite one. If you could find a copy of this one online, so fun. I liked The Harlequin Valentine. This is probably my second favorite. They're very equally amazing. I liked 15 Painted Cards from a Vampire Tarot just because I was like, alright, let's go through the major arcana and the tarot. Very fun. There was a story named Goliath, and this one I know you can find online because he wrote it for the Matrix movie, and it is on the Matrix movie website still, apparently, which is really funny. How to Talk to Girls at Parties was really funny, but also really creepy. It just like has that Neil Gaiman edge, and you're like, oh. And The Day the Saucers Came. The Day the Saucers Came was like literally 1 page. So good. And then there was one more kind of in the back called Sunbird, which I have read before. It has like kind of has like a twist at the end, and it was fun to like reread it while I was reading this one and know the plot twist when you reread it. I am not a huge fan of short stories, so due to the fact that I've read 3 short story collections by Neil Gaiman, 1 of ones that he picked and 2 of ones that he's written, was just wild to me and very fun. And I actually think I might get into short stories. We'll see. They're very fun. If you want to start with some weird, kind of spooky, but also mind-bending short stories, Neil Gaiman is where it's at. There is one in his other collection called Smoke and Mirrors that I think about constantly, and it's called You Can Buy 'Em Wholesale. That shit's wild. So weird. The next book I read was Our Violent Ends by Chloe Gong. This is the sequel to These Violent Delights. I read a lot of like second books or duology second, like a lot of second books in this month. This was very fun. So this is the sequel to These Violent Delights, and how do I talk about this? It is a Romeo and Juliet retelling, and I liked the ending of this a lot. The ending was very satisfying. It was a great ending. So good. Kind of indeterminate, which I'm all about indeterminate endings that are written really well, but also kind of just like a satisfying ending. However, getting up to that point with all the politics and the gang violence and the things, there was a lot less monster in this one and a lot more politics in this one, and I am not loving politics in books right now. That's on me. I was just not in the mood for this that much, but I did give it 4 stars. I did enjoy it because I really liked the characters and the ending, and I like the side characters a lot. So it was just like my own struggle within myself of how much I was going to love this one, and I kind of forced myself to finish it even though I really didn't need to, and I was struggling a lot reading stuff that I didn't really want to read, and I need to remind myself that I'm a mood reader and I cannot just pick up things to pick up things. I need to actually be in the mood for it, which is my own doing. But I do think a lot of people really like this story and the duology, and there's a spin-off series coming and I will be reading it. The cover has a weird font on it, so it looks funky. I don't know. But I will be continuing, and I think that if I reread this when I was actually genuinely in the mood for it, that I would like it a lot more, you know? The next book I read was Unravel the Dusk by Elizabeth Lim. I was looking for her name down here just then. This is the second book after, what is it called? Oh my gosh. Spin the Dawn. And I'll tell you that this little 300 and something page book is the fastest, fast-paced story I think I've ever read in my life. This thing just needed to slow down. That TikTok sound where it's like, that's enough slices, like no more slices. That's enough slices. That's how I felt reading this. It was just like, whoa, 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 slow down, slow down, slow down. And it just never did. There were so many things in here that this could have been at least 200 to 400 more pages, and it could have been a slow, enjoyable fantasy book, but it really wasn't. So I did love it. I loved the outcome. I loved everything that happened here, the whole adventure, all the choices that our main character Maya made. I really liked all her choices. I liked that she was turning into a demon. It was super fun. I liked Eden. I liked her brother and her dad had more of a spotlight near the end of this book. I really enjoyed all the characters and everything going on here, but it was so fast. It was so fast. So I knocked it down 4 stars. Otherwise it would have been incredible. The next book I completed is The Year of the Witching by Alexis Henderson, which I keep calling The Year of the Witchling. Don't know why. My brain is stuck on that. Still to this day. It's been like a month since this was really recommended to me. Anywho, this was very spooky. It had kind of like a spook edge to it constantly that I really, really appreciated. It was like just enough spook. Like, just like the lipstick. It was very nice. It was about this town, Bethel, and this town, Bethel, is just wild. I normally don't really like really religious things where people are like burned at the stake and stuff. It kind of hurts me on the inside, as you can tell, witchcraft stuff, but this one did a really good job at it, and even like the twists at the end. But I gave it 4 stars because I feel like it just took me a long time to read. That was kind of my own fault. And I don't know where it could go after this. I also really liked Ezra. I would like to reread this book from Ezra's point of view. So fun. I want to know all the secrets from Ezra's side of things. I think it would be so cool to see that. I'm just saying. Like, can we do that? Can we have Ezra? He was my favorite character in here. And the 8th and final book I read this year. Note, there is like no ebooks or audiobooks that I don't own in this, and I'm very excited. Just as like a side note, I'm very excited that I own all of these books and they're all physical books. But the 8th book I read is A Winter's Promise, and this is by Christelle de Bos. This has been translated from French into English, and there are a lot of aspects of this book that you can really tell that were translated from French into English. I wouldn't have minded a couple of French words. I am trying to learn French. I know a little bit of French. I wouldn't have minded it because there are some things in here that just don't make sense. So this one I gave 4 stars to. It is in this other world where kind of, this is how I'm going to describe it to you. Like the tectonic plates of the world broke apart and they're kind of just floating in midair and they're all like separate. There's 24 of them though. I know there's less tectonic plates, but they kind of split apart and they're not connected to each other. You have to fly around to everybody's arc is what they're called. And Ophelia lives on Anima, which is spirited by the family spirit Artemis. Artemis gave birth to everybody kind of who's there, like started the family on there. She's the family spirit. And Ophelia gets arranged marriage to somebody on a different arc named Thorn, who lives on the pole, and the pole is owned by a different family spirit who is kind of evil, I will say that. He's not the greatest. And there's a lot of politics and hierarchy and things that she's not used to, like noblemen and lords and whatnot, going on the pole that she didn't have on Anima. And she just kind of doesn't understand them, because on Anima everybody's cousins. They're like, hey cousin, I don't know you, but I know that we're technically related. Whereas on the pole they're all segregated and there are servants, and it's very different and a very different experience. And she knows she's being used, but she doesn't know exactly what for until she finally figures out what she's being used for. And it's very interesting and very intriguing, but it was very, very slow, and I would have liked more of the slow burn romance. But Thorn truly does not show up that much in here. I liked Ophelia and his conversations when they did finally talk to each other, but I feel like there could have been more and I would have liked it a lot more. I don't know. I am going to continue on with the series because I feel like it will go really well for me, but we'll see, because some of the translation too, like I'm sure it was better in French than it is in English. So if you can read French fully, maybe one day I'll pick up the French version when I finally know how to read French, you know? We'll see. But also, the side of this book is facing the wrong way. I would just like to point that out. Like, let's grab this one. It's facing the wrong way. Oh wait, that's not even the goodest example. Oh my god. If you look at that there, it's facing the wrong way. And you would think that if I removed the dust jacket, that it would fix itself, but it didn't. I don't know what to tell you. It's been freaking me out this whole time. And I checked the other books and they also do that. Very upset about that, but you know, oh well. I hope that all of my months go like this, with like 8 books in them at least, because this was just wonderful. There were a lot of things in this one especially that ow. There were a lot of things in this one especially that I highlighted and I loved. There were things I think in the Poppy War that I highlighted and I loved. And I know that there was something in the Year of the Witching that I wanted to highlight, but I was sometimes listening to the audiobook, sometimes reading it, so I don't remember what it was, but that's okay. I think that my favorite book that I read, though, obviously was the only 5-star I gave, and that was A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire, and that was because this is the only one that I think I was truly in the mood to read. But if I had to pick one of the other ones, I would have to go with Fragile Things, because Neil Gaiman, man, oh, this man gets it. He gets it. So, but that's where I'm at. Let me know what your favorite book that you read in January was, and thank you so much for watching this video. I will see you all in the next one. Bye!